Emmett Welton. On April 24, 2011, 69-year-old psychologist Emmett Velten was caught on video arriving back at his apartment complex in Phoenix, Arizona. Another young, unidentified man wearing a regular bright green hat was in the passenger seat. They got out of the vehicle and walked into the building, where they were seen again on a different camera. They got onto the elevator, where they were captured on a third camera. 2 hours later, the passenger is seen on the footage leaving the apartment complex, but by stairs and not the elevator, and in a relaxed manner stole Welton's car in the view of the camera. Sometime in the span of 45 minutes after the suspect left, Welton, who was badly beaten and had suffered a head wound, emerged from his apartment with his pants halfway removed. A neighbor found him lying by the elevator and called the police. When the police arrived, Welton was still conscious, and he told them that he had picked the man up at a homeless shelter, possibly for reasons of prostitution. Welton told the investigators that the man had bound his legs and beat him until he was unconscious. He died shortly thereafter at the hospital. Robbery didn't appear to be the motive. There was no known items missing from Welton's apartment, and the suspect ditched the stolen vehicle nearly immediately. Police recovered the vehicle 3 days later. The murder was on the camera for 45 seconds from 3 different angles, and the police got a full bloody footprint of the killer from the scene, but the man has never been identified. It is believed that he was about 20 to 25 years old, 5 foot 9 inches tall, weighed about 65 kilograms, and possibly a transient. The killer was never caught, and Welton's murder remains unsolved. Michael Modesti. On April 26, 2012, Michael Modesti traveled to Bangkok to attend an expo where he was exploring the possibility of buying silicone at a discounted rate to bring back to Australia for his styling business. He returned safely to Australia on May 6th and spent the weekend with his girlfriend and his 4-year-old son. On May 8th, Modesti spoke with his girlfriend on the phone at 10:45 p.m. before going to bed. This would be his last known contact with anyone. The next day, on May 9th, he simply vanished. It is believed that Michael left his home sometime after 8:30 a.m. the following morning in his dark blue 2005 Mitsubishi Magna 360 sedan. He was reported missing by his family on May 10th. After they attended his home address, found the television on and Michael's personal possessions inside, including his mobile phone and bank cards. However, Michael was missing. This is the last known CCTV footage of Michael Modesti, taken 3 days before he went missing. The footage was captured at Adelaide Airport on the morning of May 6th, showing Modesti wearing a light-colored jacket emblazoned with word Lee, light-colored jeans and white sneakers. Modesti can be seen leaving the airport, looking around for someone, and then heading back into the building. Footage of a similar blue sedan was captured traveling around 9:20 a.m. on the morning he went missing. The vehicle was also captured passing a light city bus at about 10:34 a.m. on the day he went missing, where a woman who exited the bus walked past the car. His vehicle was found 3 days later, parked at West Croydon. The car was unsecured and parked about 15 meters south of Torrance Road. This location is about 3 kilometers north of his home address. Modesti had no prior history of going missing, and it is highly unusual for him to not have made contact with his family and friends. The police believe that Modesti was connected to drugs and was possibly murdered due to his connection. Modesti remains missing to this day, and foul play is suspected in his disappearance. John Lang. John Lang was an activist who lived in Fresno, California. He was dedicated to exposing bad people, and one day he wrote an article about the Fresno Police Department that made them look bad. John claimed that the Fresno police were capitalizing illegally on Fresno residents by profiling and scanning license plates of the parked cars, and then proceeding to stalk those same drivers when they pulled out of the parking lot and started to drive on Fresno streets, where the police would then pull over the residents, issue them a ticket, and act like they just noticed that person's car while casually driving on the streets themselves, which is highly unethical. Fresno police would then find the residents and ultimately would capitalize on a corrupt ticketing system for the sake of monetary gain. John Lang raised awareness about this issue and was a major player in police watch activism. Lang regularly posted evidence of corruption on Fresno's local news site, Fresno Bee. His IP was logged by an insider on the site, which gave his address to the police. This is when all the trouble began. Luckily, Lang had his house rigged with CCTV cameras, and what they captured is astonishing. For a year after that, he was stalked, harassed, and arrested for no reason by the Fresno PD. He caught several videos of these incidents and posted them on his YouTube channel. In the very first video on his channel, he displays what Lang claimed to be a Ford crew cab that had been stalking his house for multiple days in a row. In the video, a silver truck can be seen pull aside on the road and continue slowly down the streets. This happened on multiple occasions. Lang said that in the street, people of strange appearance and evil faces were watching him in a threatening way. He said that the security cameras caught people peering over his fence, cars parked in front of his house when he was not home, and strange-looking vehicles with people who rode surveillance all night. Things that had never happened before. Lang became fed up with the harassment and filed a legal complaint with the Internal Affairs against the Fresno PD. This is when things began to escalate. That night, multiple police officers came out of their cars and stationed themselves on the opposite side of the street, staring at his house in an attempt to intimidate him. One of the most shocking videos on his channel is when a van pulls across the street from his house, opens the sliding door, revealing a man with what appears to be some sort of camera. The claim is that it was a thermal imaging camera and the police were checking to see if John was home. Finally, on January 16th, something unsettling was discovered by Lang. He realized that a few men were observing his house from a van of a carpet cleaning service. He posted about it on his Facebook account, saying, "If I turn up missing or dead tomorrow, remember this van. I think I seen a couple of guys sneak out the side door and into the building when it was parked in the carport this afternoon. I've been causing the city of Fresno a lot of problems recently, which I now regret." And finally, another post saying, "Anyone want to crash at my pad tonight? Must be a legal gun owner. I think the bad guys may come and get me tonight." This would be the last post from him. Just days after making this post, John was found dead, stabbed 12 times, and his home was burning to the ground. His death was ruled out to be a suicide, that he had set his own house on fire, and then stabbed himself multiple times. After his death, many people investigated, but found no leads. It's been 2 years and no action has been taken on his mysterious death. In 2011, Jim and Amy Pitzen lived in Aurora, Illinois with their 6-year-old son Timothy. On May 11th, Amy took Timothy out of his kindergarten class at Greenman Elementary School. She told the school there was a family emergency, but this was untrue. After checking him out of the school, she drove Timothy to the Brookfield Zoo. At 3 p.m., Amy drove with Timothy to the Key Lime Grove Resort in Gurnee, Illinois, where they spent the night. Meanwhile, Jim had reported Timothy and Amy missing after he went to pick up Timothy from kindergarten and found out his mother had taken him. He called her cell phone numerous times, but got no answer. On May 12th, Amy took Timothy to the Kalahari Resort, a water park resort chain in Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin. At around 10 a.m. the following morning, surveillance footage showed her and Timothy waiting in the line together. Both seemed content. Later on that evening, Amy placed a series of calls to family and friends. She informed her loved ones that Timothy was safe and happy. Timothy could be heard in the background and sounded normal, saying only that he was hungry. This was the last time anyone saw or heard from him. The following day, at around 7:25 p.m., surveillance footage at the Family Dollar store in Winnebago, Illinois, captured Amy buying stationery, but this time she was alone. She went to the nearby Sullivan's Foods at 8 p.m. and then checked into the Rockford Inn in Rockford, Illinois between 11:15 and 11:30 p.m. The following morning, she was found dead in her room. She had slashed her wrists with a box cutter. A toxicology report later revealed she had taken a deadly dose of antihistamines. There was no sign of Timothy, but Amy left behind a note claiming that her son was safe and with people who would care for him. At the end of the note, she wrote, "You will never find him." Timothy's Spider-Man backpack, his toys, clothes, and booster seat were missing from Amy's SUV, which was still in the parking lot. Amy's cell phone, the clothes that Amy was wearing when she checked out of the Kalahari Resort, a tube of Crest toothpaste, and an iPass transponder were also missing. They found traces of Timothy's blood in the backseat of the car, but they couldn't tell how long the stains had been there. And since Timothy had suffered a major nosebleed in the vehicle prior to his disappearance, it's unknown if these blood traces signified foul play. The SUV was dirty, indicating that Amy may have driven into a rural area at some point. Authorities initially believed Amy had in fact given Timothy to other people to care for, in part because his car seat was missing. However, the car seat turned up in Timothy's grandmother's possession in Wooster, Ohio. She had had it since a week before Timothy disappeared. Investigators believe Amy may have been planning Timothy's disappearance for months. In February and March of 2011, Amy drove to the area in which Timothy disappeared at least twice before he went missing. She had an email account opened under her maiden name in 2007 and kept it a secret from her husband, but the account didn't contain anything useful to the investigation. Jim and Amy's mother both stated Amy loved Timothy and they didn't believe she would have harmed him. Amy had suffered from depression and had reportedly left home before for extended time periods. In the autumn of 2013, Amy's cell phone turned up on the roadside of Route 78. Investigators went back to the place where it was found and conducted a search, but found nothing else of interest, and nothing of interest on the phone itself. Throughout the course of next few years, numerous tips poured into the investigators. Someone in Florida said she recognized Timothy as a boy who had recently moved into the neighborhood with her family, who all had a northwestern accents. Another claimed she recognized the boy at a garage sale in Rockton, Illinois. Out of the 100 tips that piled in, none have led to Timothy. After 7 years, there is still no sign of Timmothy Pitzen, and his case remains unsolved. Enrique Rios, Elijah Moore, and Oscar Alcarez. In August of 2016, 17-year-old Enrique Rios had just started attending Northern California Construction Training Program in Woodland, California. This was a unique continuation of his high school that allowed teens to attend school in the morning and earn money in the afternoon. In the past, Enrique had a minor run-ins with the law and had been placed on probation, but this work program was seeming to help him a lot. Enrique was excited about earning his own money and being productive. Around 9 p.m. on October 16, 2016, Enrique came into his parents' bedroom wearing pajamas and said goodnight to his mother, Lola, and headed to bed like every other night. This would be the last time anyone saw Enrique alive. The next morning, Lola woke up to get Enrique and her younger daughter ready for school. They had a pretty scheduled routine, especially since Enrique was required to wear his work uniform to school every day. If he did not, then he would violate his probation. But when Lola went to wake her son up, he was nowhere to be found. His work uniform was still at the house. She called and texted him multiple times, and finally got a text message from him at around 7 a.m. saying that he had decided to spend the night at a friend's house, and he was getting ready and going to school with this friend. When his mother asked about the work clothes, Enrique texted back saying his friend had an extra pair that he could wear. His mother asked if this meant that the friend also attended NCCTP. Enrique said yes. A short while later, Enrique sent another text claiming he was under too much pressure lately and needed to get away. He promised to return shortly, but he never returned. Lola doesn't believe her son actually sent those texts, as they were unlike his usual style of texting. Later that day, Lola, now worried, checked in with his school and discovered that Enrique had never shown up to school, but everyone else in the work program had. There was no way he was with another student. Lola filed a missing person report to the police later that day. The police automatically treated it as a runaway case. However, Lola was suspicious, since Enrique did not take anything but his cell phone. He left behind his warm clothes, his California state identification card, and his last paycheck, as well as other belongings. His family stated he was happy with his life. He adored his younger sister and had no reason to run away from home. With no help from the police, Lola decided to go on social media, posting pictures of Enrique and informing everyone that he was missing. None of his friends or classmates came out with any clues or information. Oddly, every time Lola posted this on social media, one supposed friend of Enrique's would be tagged. He never commented on any of the posts he was tagged in, and every attempt at messaging him has failed to get any response. It wasn't until after Elijah, a close friend of Enrique, also disappeared that police began to look into the case. Just a few short weeks after Enrique vanished, Elijah Moore would suddenly disappear. He went to the same school as Enrique and was also the member of the Northern California Construction Training Program. Elijah was last seen at a check cashing place in Woodland after just talking to his mother on the phone on November 4, 2016. He asked her for his social security number and told her that he had something to do after cashing his check, and then he would be home. But he never came home. When Elijah didn't show up, Alicia, Elijah's mother, called his friend Andre. Andre told her that Elijah was supposed to meet him up for lunch after cashing his check, but he never showed up. Andre then called Elijah, and just like with Enrique, no one answered the phone, but immediately responded with a text message. The text Andre received from him was pretty unusual and did not sound like Elijah. He screenshotted it and sent it to Alicia, who agreed it didn't sound like Elijah. Alicia returned to the check cashing store and spoke with the clerks. They remembered Elijah and said he came in with another person from his work program who was Hispanic. They knew they were from the same program because they cashed the same kind of check. At 3 a.m. that same night, a woman reported seeing a young man matching Elijah's description sitting on her front stoop. She said she was sure it was him as she had seen him many times before. After the FBI joined the investigation, they tried pinning both boys' phones. Nothing appeared on Enrique's. However, Elijah showed him walking away from the check place towards home, then way out of Woodland completely, and then back in Woodland again later, which was about 30 minutes from the check cashing place. It is believed that Elijah did not have a car of his own, so he either took a public transport or was with someone. Also, the surveillance video was released to the public. It showed Elijah wearing a backpack and waiting to cash his check. He approaches the desk, does something inside his backpack, and leaves the store. Alicia thinks that whatever happened to Elijah more than likely involved someone he knew and trusted. Both Enrique and Elijah remain missing to this day. To further complicate the mystery, a year later, on January 6, 2017, 28-year-old Oscar Alcarez disappeared from his residence in Woodland. He was in the adult program of the same exact work program that Elijah and Enrique were in. The adult and the youth program work at the same place together. On the day of Oscar's disappearance, he got into a fight with his parents and went to take a walk and was never found again. After delving into his phone records, family eliminated most of the numbers in the call log as suspects, except for 2 mysterious numbers. One of those numbers was from the night of the disappearance. It has since been disconnected. The other one does nothing but ring, no matter which number his family calls it from. A month and a half later, Oscar's body was found very close to Woodland, California, and the check cashing place. He was found face down in the ground with a random car found next to him. No cause of death was established, and it's unclear if there is any link to the disappearances of Enrique Rios and Elijah Moore. All 3 cases remain unsolved.